All right, hello everyone. We are ready to get started. I want to thank all of you for joining today wherever you are in the world. We're so happy to have you. My name is Jennifer Morris. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at MadCap Software, and I'm so delighted to have Thomas Bro-Rasmussen, longtime Flare user and owner and founder of TBRO, his consulting firm. Now, Thomas has been a frequent speaker and presenter at TechCom conferences worldwide, including MadCap's own user conference, Mad World. And I'm so happy to have him with us today to announce the release of his new productivity utility for MadCap Flare called Target Control. Now, Thomas spends much of his day using Flare with his clients, and he developed this utility to control a range of different target file options, including conditions, variables, and PDF options. And this powerful utility can help save quite a bit of time as your content starts to scale. And I think we can all agree that now, more than ever, many of us are faced with the challenge of doing more, often with fewer resources. So time is incredibly valuable. And today, Thomas is going to introduce this utility to us and show how Target Control can help automate certain processes in MadCap Flare to save you time when building your targets. So as always, a couple of quick items of business before we begin, because we have a lot to cover today. We will be recording this session. So if you have to pop out early, not to worry, we're going to send you a link to the recording when it's done. Also, there is a question area in the GoTo webinar console that you're seeing. So I hope you can all find that. I would encourage you to use that as a place to ask questions as Thomas is presenting today. We're going to do our best to get to as many as we can at the end. And whatever we don't get to live, we'll follow up with a question and answer document for everybody who's registered. So again, I want to thank all of you for joining. Thomas, thank you again for your time today. I know you've got a lot to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you for the kind words and the introduction. That's very good. For those of you, and good morning or good afternoon, or wherever you are, maybe even good evening. For those of you who saw my image on the first page and now compared to this one, you'll see that I get younger. So if I keep on long enough, I will end up with the last slide being a toddler. Right, let's get right into it. So the first step is talking about the indication of what you need to do, the reason for why we did it, the idea, and the task that we actually ended up solving. The indication, which I always ask myself, I've done that for years, not inside of MadCap Flare, but in any product, is that whenever I repeat myself somehow, I always ask myself, you maybe have to ask yourself, do I really have to repeat this over and over again? These tedious, repetitive tasks. So that's the indication that something maybe should be done. The reason for this in Flare is that you have a Flare target file, and you have that same Flare target file across several Flare projects. That happens in a lot of different situations, and you can, particularly inside of translation scenarios, where the target file is the same, and the name of it, and the place, but the content is often not the same. Probably shouldn't be anyway, because especially in the translation, it does not have to be translation, but it is not the same. So the reason for these changes is that, and the only way to solve that is right now, is to do this manually. So the idea was to control all these target files across all the Flare projects I had on my machine, not only one by one, which is the plugin technology, but basically take a step back, close all Flare instances and work from the outside, as it says, without opening Flare at all. And the task was, let's do something. I met a absolutely brilliant developer called William, and we talked a bit, and I showed him something, and the whole instance that night when he really proved it, he opened up Notepad++, and from scratch he wrote a Flare target file without any errors in XML, and I was sold, and we have now developed Target Control. So that's kudos to Williams if he's listening in. Right, the second step is what actually does happen in Target Control. Well, all the values that we have in the target files, we take them out of the target and we store them in a data source, and that data source is not a secret, it's actually just a very simple Excel file. We all know Excel, and I expect most of you, probably all, have Excel anyway. And then after that, we write the information from the Excel back to the target files. So here we go. So if you imagine and think about one tag value, could be one exclude for one single thing, it could be one variable or one PDF setting somewhere in one target. What actually does happen? Well, if you don't make any change from a source project or any project to any other projects, you don't need target control at all. All you have to do is basically copy your target file from project to project and you're up running. That never happens. That's what I think. But what happens if you have different values? If there is a change in the value in the project 2 and 3 and they're not the same, there might be an indication that you want to use a product like target control. If you have a changed value in your source control, you would expect the same change to happen in the project 2 and 3, so you don't need to do anything there, but the value might stay put for project number 1. So again, you have a difference, and how do you control these differences? Manually. Then if you delete a value and change a file in this instance would be either a condition tag set file or variable set. If you change something in these files, you add a new condition, you add a new variable, you need to copy that file from project to project. The minute you do that, then what happens to all the old values? You need to control them as well. So that's a lot of manual work because of maybe just one single instance, plus all the instances where you have to recorrect and so on in the target files. It's even more use for a product like target control. And of course, the same happens if you add a value. You still need to manually adjust what happens in all these different target files in projects 1, 2, and 3. Let's see what happens over time. And I'm, taking last year. This was late December last year. Over time, over 10 years, you would in a Flare open your Flare. You would find your target file. You will evaluate if you have to do something. You will change it, and then you will build it. You will do this repeatedly over the years. Sometimes you have to do it a lot. If you've got 20 targets and 600 target files, then you really have to do it a lot. Of course, less means less time used, but you still have to do it every single time. Pre the last slide. In the target control world, it's quite different because we don't have to open, we don't have to find, we don't have to evaluate, we don't have to change, and we don't even have to build every single time because target control through the storage of all these values in the Excel file can do this for you. And the time it takes, you will see that live in a short while. This is the bragging part. These numbers are real. They are recorded a while back, but still. So what we have here is one Flare project, with one target and one value. I assume now for the math I'm doing is that it takes the same time to change a value from include to exclude or write a language name for anything. It takes the same time in the target file as it does inside of Excel. So that lists out of the math in the next slide. And also out of the math is any type of error we as humans make, any manual action we make is out. Opening and closing incorrect projects, i.e. errors again, are not part of this calculation, and so on. And shifting between opening and closing projects are neither in these. So on my machine back then, that was an old one. I've got a faster one now. It takes me, for this one project, one target and one condition, 25 seconds to open Flare. It takes 10 seconds to find the target file, and it takes another 10 seconds to find the condition and change it. So a total of 45 seconds. Some of you might find it quicker, some of you might find it slower. Especially if you do not necessarily know the Flare project itself, it takes longer to find the condition the first time. If it's the only one and the only thing you ever do, you can do it faster. Now we have 12 projects. We've got 658 targets. That's quite a lot, and 23,500 conditions. That will take Flare target control 78 seconds to read and write all together. So that's quite good because you start doing the math, you can see it's pretty good. There's a whole wide gap because the 78 seconds actually do not change considerably. Maybe to 82, 83 seconds, but that's tops. If I add another 89,000 variables, and if I add another 758 output file names, and if I add some PDF options as well, this is the benefit of target control. There's a whole range of stuff I can do on all my target files at the same time in next to no time, if we count them in seconds anyway. So some of the benefits gets longer and longer. You got better control. You've got far fewer errors, improved consistency, mainly basic to the way you use Excel and the easiness it is to browse with your eyes through the Excel sheet and make sure that you've got everything at the same value for a certain target or for a certain condition in the target. There is a huge return on investment. That, of course, is something I'm hoping you will see. It is extremely quick to change many values. You'll see that as well. And then you reduce the manual labor to a cinch. It works with Flare 8 and onwards. And then there are time for other exciting assignments. Free your time. Free your time meaning that some of the values or some of the things I've experienced over the years is that on an annual basis, I can easily, if the Flare project and the projects are very big, set aside maybe a whole month or 2 months, just opening and closing and changing. I could have been a tech writer at the same time. I could maybe have written another language, or maybe I get time to translate or add more languages to my translation. And then I honestly believe it is obscenely faster than the alternative, meaning my mouse and my eyes and my double click and finding Flare. Absolutely. It is easy to compare and overview across projects because we basically have everything open at the same time. And the post editing after, for example, translation is reduced because I've already stored all the translation values and things that do happen after translation. They're stored already. All I have to do is use them. And I don't really care whether the translation agency, they make an error or not. I still have these things stored. So that's pretty cool. And it's not only useful in translation, it's also useful for different markets and product types. Basically, it is useful for people who use MadCap Flare for whatever reason. Oh, I forgot. It can build. Of course it can. We can't talk about a target without building the target as well. So we've sort of added an extra tab, extra work. I think it's called an Excel worksheet, an extra one to Excel, and from that you can say yes, I would like to build them. So we're basically building all your targets across all your Flare projects at the same time. The nice part is it's actually quite fast. I think it's time to see it. Let's have a look. Right, I'll go out of this one, and I will just for a very short one here on the left-hand side. You can see that this is my test projects: Arabian, Chinese, Danish. Could have been product 1, product 2, product 3, or whatever you like. It's quite okay. That bunch of files, Flare projects, are part of the target control you download. So you can work with these projects as long as you want to, at least only for the 10 days that the trial version lasts. And there's one more important thing, but I'll show you that when I get into target control. So opening it up. And the first time you start it, it says, welcome to target control. You can click on either the PDF or the help file, or the help icon, and get what is actually happening. And I'm trying to explain that instead of showing you the PDF file. The first thing one has to do is to go in and choose what we have decided should be called an anchor project. It came out of a lack of words in English or Danish, because we were talking about target files, and then we talked about a source project and a target something, and then we ended up with everything just being targets, and it ended up being complete mess in what was a target. So we have some terminology. An anchor project is the project that I select first, and I'll do that right now. Just find it down here, and in doing that, I will select one of these to be the anchor project. You might think global project linking, because we are actually doing partly some of the same stuff in some of the processes. We're taking the conditional tag sets and the variable tag sets and using those in that scenario and that way by copying them. But also, as you will see, we are using the English as it is now for a as a source / an anchor project for something specific. So that's the easy part. The next easy part is to create the Excel file. That's what I'm doing now. So it is now browsing through all the projects on the left-hand side. You can see on the left-hand side, it has now created target control. There's a log file saying that it found 2,270 variables and so on. And it took about 5 seconds. And I had to open up the Excel file to have a look into it. So this is what takes longest in the demo, it's opening Excel. I have clicked. Let me do it this way instead. Here we go. Right, so let me just enlarge that slightly. I think it might be good for you to see in a different zoom level. I think I'll find out that 125% was pretty good. Here we go. So in the bottom, you can see general conditional text, variables, PDF options, language, and build configuration. These are basically exactly the same as you see in the Flare target file with the tabs on your left-hand side. So let me start by going to language. So what you can see now is that it is, and it says in the left column, the one with the darkest and brightest green, those are the columns inside of the different tabs where you can write your values. The yellow columns cannot be touched at all, and the pale green are things we can use. You can write in and write notes to each other, and we use it for different things as well. You will see that as well. So let me just go and change these language settings to something which is correct. It's the first one is Arabian, and then there's a Chinese, and so on. So here we go. And if those of you think I'm a fast writer, I'm not. I have this pre-recorded on a macro that runs in Excel. But it's just me cheating. The option was for me to make a whole bunch of typos, and I didn't want to do that. So this is it. I'm going to save this one, and I'm going to close the Excel file, and then I'm going to do the next bit. I'm going to update my targets. Before doing that, let me just go into the Danish target file, go down to language. This is the Flare project. It says it's English. Let's leave that open for a while and go back to target control and do an update of the targets. Done. Let's see what happens in the background. Something happened in the background, and if we're lucky, you can actually see now that it says in the Danish one, it is now Danish. So basically I have, by clicking the update targets button in target control, changed 33 targets because it's across everything, and I have changed them to the correct language. That is it. Now comes the fun part. Now we come to the loop. We have to make sure that we change something, we update the Excel file, so we go back and forth and always remembering where is it that I have stored my stuff. The Excel file right now might or might not be okay, but let's just look. If we look into the Excel file, see if it opens faster this time than before. Oh, I know why. Here it is. It was on another screen. What you can see now in, for instance, the general tab is that the target language still says English because I haven't touched the Excel file. I haven't updated the Excel file with a newest value from the update target file. So I have to update my Excel file as well. Now I'm populating the Excel file with the latest content from all the target files. And if I go back now into the Excel file, you'll see that now the language have been dispersed across all the different tabs for the different things that target control use. Here we go. Here they are. So that is from one tab to all the other tabs. Let me look at some of them. Let's take variables first of all. Here we are. And I would like to make a change to the name and translation of user guides. Mind you, we have a lot of different variables. We've got active languages. We've got a lot of date format, system variables, active global terms, a whole bunch of stuff. The default value in column B is what we have in the target. In the variable file set right now, this is the variable itself, and the target value on the left-hand side is what is being written into the target file. So I'm going to use Excel now to do a filtering, and I want to take the filter and just take the user guide. And I didn't write correctly, that's why I usually do macros. Here we go. and I just want to see the user guides. So I'm now controlling all the variables called user guide across all 33, and then I can repeat numbers as long as I want, but I'm going to sort of stop that right now. And I will put in the cursor up there. I don't have to put the cursor up in the English because user guide is still called user guide in English, so there's no reason to write a value in the target value cell and column. Also, the anchor project, you can see that easily in the rows because they are pale blue. So let's see if this macro works. It does. Here we go. So I'm writing this inside Excel, and once that's done, I'm basically done across all my files. I'm now going to clear my stuff. Here we go. Clear it, and I'm going to do another one, also in variables. This time I'm going to click on the date formats. Same stuff. And I'm going to do another macro. Here we go. Oh, it skipped something, and it skipped another one. The reason it's skipping it is that, well, for the presentation is to show you what I can do, but it could be for a lot of different reasons. Maybe I had no idea what the date format was in Arabic, but I might want to get help from some of the others in the company that maybe can help me on this one. So I will now write in the TW notes column, please help, like that. And then I have a problem with all of these, like that. Like that. So I'm writing a message from one technical writer to another. As long as this one exists inside the file, I would say, well, there's still something we have to do. And it works well. Let me go to the conditional text then. And this one is going to be quite good. I'm changing to exclude. No, do you know what? I'm going to do it for one. I've got enough time. Plenty of time. I only want to do it for a certain set of target files, the ones that are all called control_2 user guide and so on across all the languages. I have been told that they should be exclude, all of them. So I will take this to exclude. I forgot it in the source file or in the Angus file, but all I have to do now is use Excel functionality and drag down, and they're all exclude across the whole stuff. So I've changed exclude, I've changed some dates, I've changed some variables. And of course, in the end, what I can do, I can go in and take output file names as well. I'm going to wait just a wee bit with that. I'm going to save all of this. I'm going to go out of Excel. And if I'm inside Excel and I try to hit the target control now, I'll get punished, quote unquote, by saying, well, you have to exit Excel first. So I'm going to update my targets. And this is now taking all the values you've just seen and written them down in 1.12 seconds. I personally think that's quite okay and quite good. That is the main thing of what is happening. Now I'm going to go into the Danish now. I'm going to change something in the Danish because I can't find target control, I'm outside the reach of whatever, and I need to do it, and I forget I have, but I'm still going to just make a change. And the file name is the one, so this is a Danish user guide manual, written in English. It's okay, that's it. So that's all I need to do. I'll go back to target control and update my Excel file. When doing that, it's going to take it from all the anchor, the anchor project and all the chain projects as well. So if I open up the Excel file, I should have one of these names, i.e. for the Danish target control_3 quick guide, it's called for this one, should be changed, and there you have it. So this one is one I have actually changed. Now, it also says change, so that was quite good. So what now if I had done a lot of these and I couldn't remember where they were? I have projects with more than 90,000 lines for conditionals and variables, and it could be, you know, quite daunting to go and find them. Of course, there is the option in Excel to filter out these things. We made a little nifty thing, I think, that when you want to open the Excel file, I can make sure it only shows the changes. So I'm directed straight into all the things I need to be concerned about for whatever reason. So let's go through this one and see what happens. So this is it. So I could say, all right, yeah, well, should have been in Danish. So it probably would have, yeah, That's not good writing. For all the Danes out there, you can laugh at me. It's okay, here we go. And then I have to remember to change and remove the change column, change that, go out of Excel again. And then since I've made a change in the Excel file, I need to update my targets. I'm done. Opening up the Excel file again. Now let's take target control and go into general. And it says now DDR in dansk manual. So that's a bit of Danish tuition as well. So I'm communicating in between the target files in Excel by using the buttons in the right order. That's basically it. And there are not that many ways you can do it. So it's it is quite easy. Now let's close the Danish project and go to the English project. I think I've got that open as well. Yeah, here we go. Let me take out a value from the target control user guide and write a name for that. So 7-50-9000-user guide. That's it. That's the name of it. I'm going to save this file and I'm going to leave it open. That's okay for me. I'm going into target control now, and then this time I want to update the Excel file from the changed file in the target. But I'm going to update only from the anchor, nothing else. Let's see what happens. Hope it happens as it did when I rehearsed it. Open the Excel file. And what you can see now, and I think it was _1, so let's just filter that one out. Here we go, and press OK. What you can see is that the top row, the pale blue is the English one. It has changed, but I have forced in the word attention because I wasn't quite sure maybe in this scenario what should be the actual output for the different, or the name for the different languages. So I'm just putting in the word attention, and then I need to find, here we go, this one here. This is the Danish one. I know that one because the Danish one for certain, I've been told by management, it should be user guide -DK. That's the name of it. And maybe the next one, that's a German one. Let's say that's 50-9000-DE and so on. So, you know, the names are not the same. They shouldn't necessarily be the same for the different files, but the word attention just gives it easier to get an overview of what you're doing. I'm going to save the stuff. Once you're done for these two, again, remember Thomas, because I'm doing it, to change and delete the word attention, meaning as long as I have attention, I'm not done yet. I haven't decided yet. I haven't been given the result of that particular value, wherever that might be, by whomever have to tell me. So let's go out of Excel again. And one more thing, let's see, we go, save that file, yes, and go back into, let's take the same one, PDF options. Let's just take that for the fun of it. I'm going to downsample the images. I'm going to put, for the English UG, I'm going to put the value of 9,990 pixel because, yeah, it doesn't make sense in the real world, but 999 is something I can remember. That's it. But this time, when updating, I want to force the anchor values. And I'm going to update the Excel file again. And open the Excel file again and browse through the PDF settings and see how they are and see what happens in there. So, and I could have, you know, put on the little change button, but I didn't. Let's see if we can find the 999. There it is. Have a look what happens. What it says out on the left-hand side, there's slightly different positions of the values you can write back to the target file depending on what tab you're choosing. We have the word forced on the left-hand side. If I just filter out so we can see forced and changed. What I'm assuming in this scenario is that if it is 999, it is also 999 in all the other targets. I'm forcing that value into them. You know what it means? It means I don't have to trust them. I know they're right. They're okay already. What I do have to is get rid of this if I'm happy. Right now, that's a manual stuff. Sorry, guys. We did talk about the automated part. You might expect an upgrade whenever, but that's it. And then I could say to myself, radio, let's just select all. And I want the 999 plus all these to be the same. Also, the high and the maximum, they're all over the place. So let's just, you know, unify the amount of PDF files across the board like that. Oops, that was me. Should be 999. So for those of you who are Excel wizards out there, you will probably tell me that, Thomas, you forgot to hold down the control key while dragging down. So I'm going to do that now. And it will be 999. Press Control S, and I have a new database. I have a new situation for my entire bunch of target files, for the values and all the target files that are in the Excel file. I'm going to exit that, and then I will update my targets, and now all the targets are done. The last step, and I honestly tell you, this is the last step, so it's not a full hour webinar unless people have questions, is I want to build as well. Now, if I ask this to build all the targets we have, it might take the rest of the time, so I'm not, but it's easy. You open up the stuff, and you can see in there that the output file name is still in there. We have the languages that I did earlier. Out on the right-hand side, we can see what type it is we're dealing with. And I would like to build some of the web help outputs, not the PDF outputs, because I can. And then I will just say yes. And this time I'm prepared for the control key, so I'll just drag down, and I'll just take Hebrew, German, Danish, Chinese, Arabic, and English. Save it. That's the only thing you need to do. Honestly, remember to save it, otherwise you won't get the right result. And you click on the build button, and I'll just take a quick sip of my tea while it builds, and it shouldn't take too long. It's actually done. I don't know why it got out, but let's just browse again. And here we go. There we go. What is it? The PC stuff, Windows, here we go. Temp, target control, English. Without speaking too much, I'll just repeat the whole stuff again. It's already there, that's why. Open the Excel file. And going to the build configuration and say yes. I'm going to take some of the top ones instead, like that. And I'm going to do these for now. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. It's building 6 targets. And they're done. So in 7 seconds, I built 6 targets. There will PDF. Some of them are PDF files, some of them are help files. The PDF files are about 10 pages long. It's just text, no images. But still, 7 seconds for these files across many different Flare projects. It's not that bad. And even though, for whatever reason, then I think William is right now notes what is going on, what happened. And I haven't seen that before, honestly. It's still pretty fast. It's pretty good. There are a few things in here I would like to turn to. When you download, I hope you'll download and start to it. You will see an activate license. I have activated already, and in that you can go and activate the license, i.e., purchase the product. And then once that's done, you can always see what the license number is, and also you can deactivate the license should you want to move target control to a different machine. That's it. We have included in the help file the possibility to come up with suggestions for future versions. We would really, really welcome those. And also, if you find a bug, we are only human, so I bet you there are bugs in there. And if I say you this help system that I'm opening up is made in Flare, it wouldn't surprise you. So there it is. And you can find all the different things, and also all the things that I haven't touched on because it's not really necessary for now. Ladies and gentlemen, that's target control for you. That's all it does, nothing else. I'm going to turn back to the PowerPoint presentation and just finish it off. Let's see if I can. Is that 7 now? Yeah. Right, a few more slides before we start questioning if people have any. There's a roadmap, of course, when we do development like this. And we have a plan, of course we do. We want to further develop target control, and we have a whole lot of stuff that we have talked about for a while that would be cool if we could also. And maybe if you guys come up, if you purchase and start working with, come up with suggestions of what and how, by all means, chip in with suggestions, and it'll be even better. The things that we have focused on for this version 1 are the things where we are almost certain that there will be differences in between your anchor project and all your chain projects. A selection of something which is completely identical in 99% of the time across all your targets. We have sort of skipped this in the first version. The concept that we have at TBRO is to not do, or rather be the positive part, we only work across all Flare projects outside. You don't have to open Flare once to do these things. So those are the tools that we are trying to develop. We have a whole bunch of fantastic ideas, I can tell you. Yeah, and then if you have got something that the absolutely first slide said something about, if you find yourself doing repetitive things over and over again, then maybe it makes sense to go in and see, can we do this in a better way to reduce errors and so on. And if you're up for that and have things that are completely not for target control, maybe there's up for a discussion on that, and we can develop that. I can't develop anything. William, he does it. So almost there. Price in a bit. When you get to TBRO DK, check out these different small icons. The price, you have to click on the icons, not on the cover page, not on the actual home page, because there's a bunch of icons like that. When you click on those, you get to the actual target control page. And in that, these different small buttons / icons, you click on them and you can order another demo or and so on. You can see a small video that's already been released earlier today. There's an ROI tool. I'm going to show you that in a short while, and the pricing as well. And here we go for the price. So it's going to be $95 per user per month, $1,140 on an annual basis. And until March 1st, we have an introductory offer of $150 off each license. Before going to that one, Jen, I don't want to chip in. Let me just show you the ROI tool that we have out there. This is the kind of, yeah, well, it's quite fun, and it does maybe make sense to do it, but I'm going to show you what it does, and this is going to be so different from user to user. What it does is that you basically enter in seconds what you do today to open up a Flare project. So let's say it takes 25 seconds to open it, and you will use another 12 seconds to open your target file, and to find one single item, let variable, condition, or whatever, you might need another 10 seconds. So that's 43 seconds gone already. Now, once that target is already open, you want to change more text. And this is where you have to be true to yourself and have to think about, how did I actually work in Flare the past 10 years? What is it actually that I've been doing? Opening, closing, finding, changing, saving, building, and over again. So I'm just going to add some values in here that I know is going to be on my benefit, but bear with me on that. So the general is writing a name. If it's just writing a name, it might take 3 seconds. If I have to use variables in the right way, it might take 12 seconds. So let's just say that we have decided to use variables for it. And I do this once. Conditional text, well, it still takes a while to find the next value in conditional text, and maybe that is slower, maybe it takes the same time, so the 6 seconds from before. So let's just put 6 seconds for 5 seconds for that, and I have in my one target, maybe I have 34 of those, just a number. Variables, you have to go and find it, so you have a bit of a change, then you have to change variables. They will probably take a bit longer depending on the way you use variables in Flare. So I'm going to add in a 10 second for this one, and I have 18 in one of those, and then I have some PDF options. You don't necessarily do them often, but there are quite a lot if you really use them. And there would be another, yeah, well, depending on the amount of options, but let's just say it's 4 seconds, and then now, I can do that faster, but I do have a lot of those. And the language is very, very easy. All I have to do is drop down, scroll down, find it, ouch, I made a wrong decision, I have to do it again. So that's going to take 5 seconds, and I only have to do it once per target. The dark horse, how often do I make a mistake? When I asked a friend of mine, he wrote in 20% of the time I make mistakes. And it's like, no way. So we ended up changing that down to 12, if I'm not quite wrong. Then for this one target, you have to find out how many projects do you actually have across the entire Flare projects that you have. And I have some numbers now that are pretty staggering. So I've got 32 projects, one for each language. The total amount of targets per project is at the moment around, I think it's 32, 35, depending on, I'm going to write a smaller value. And this is sent for translation somewhere in between 2 and 10 times a year. It all depends. So I'm just going to write 4 times a year. And there's one person doing that. So that's 1.9 million seconds. You got to be kidding me. That's quite a bit. So that is with these values, and they're not too far off one of the clients I've been working for the past many years. They have actually used more or less 2.6 months every year to open and close Flare. And they paid me to do it. As a consultant, I have probably the most expensive open and close consultants in the business. Every single year, I could go out with 553 hours with a. It's ridiculous. But it's true, right? Okay. And the last thing is, I need to go and in Danish put an average value of your hourly wage. I'm not going to write my consultancy fee because that company now know why they might go broke. But 300 kroner is probably easy. So here we go. The result of you having fun, also a bit serious in the ROI you can download, is that you get a number. If it is red, that is the value in Danish kroner at this time. And if I put it into US dollars, $50, you'll also find $50 is 27,000 US dollars is being used every single year to do these things manually, where I claim, and you've probably seen it, it doesn't take long to do it in target control. We are in the mere range of seconds every time, maybe 6 times a year, so maybe it's a couple of minutes. That's a kind of persuasion tool, call it that, instead of an ROI tool. That's how I prefer to term it. That's it. So I've got only a few more slides and I'm done. Let's see if I can do it. Here we go. That's on you, Jen.
Yeah, well, thank you, Thomas. That was great. I know I'm
not quite done. There's one more slide after that one.
Okay.
We just put this one in for you so I can take a breath.
Yeah, so just to kind of remind everybody, just on the Flare side of things, if you haven't yet purchased Flare, or you're thinking about it, or you're thinking about adding some licenses, there is an option to save up to $300 when you're switching from a competitive tool. So please reach out to sales if you have any questions about that. We'd be happy to help you there. I think we have another one, Thomas, before we get to some questions. I think some have come in.
That one there, Mad World.
Yes, I'm just going to give it a second to catch up. There we go. Yeah, always friendly reminder, we will be having Mad World this year, October 3rd through the 6th. 2021 in Austin. You can register by March 31st to save up to $700. So I'd encourage you all, if you haven't already registered, take a look at the website, take a look at our fantastic panel of speakers and sessions that we have lined up, because we would love to see you there if you haven't yet registered. So thanks, Thomas, for showing that. I do believe we have some questions coming in, and I'd like to get to some of those.
I think I've got one more slide. I will be a presenter in Austin, by the way, so
yes.
now you know.
Yes,
right,
wonderful.
So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed and stay safe. Yeah, right. Question time. Fire away.
Let's take a look at some of these. So just a point of clarity here, and the question was, maybe you explained this already. Why is the build time so much faster with this than when building in Flare?
Well, first of all, I would say William. And honestly, I believe he does something, and he hasn't told me what, but the first time we did it, we had build times which were comparable to Flare. And then of course, we do it in a command line behind the scene and all that stuff. But it's the way that he managed to use resources on the computer in the first place. And suddenly the build time was, faster than we had seen before. Maybe it's his trade secret, I don't know, but it is faster. We do use resources different than you use in MadCap Flare, where you have a 16 to 30, depending on your amount of RAM, you can build amount of consecutive or simultaneous Flare files or Flare targets. We do it slightly different. And we also hide it so you don't see a bunch of open command line windows. That actually also made it faster. We don't know why. And I can't explain why. He can, I'm quite sure. So I would put this one on William. He knows how. Yeah.
All right. So another couple questions came in about access, getting access to it. Can you remind us again, how do we get access to target control, and can we download it as a trial, and where do we get it?
Yes, let me show you. Are you still seeing it? Yeah. All right. So on my website, what's that? Here we go. This is the first page, the cover page. Please read the story behind target control. Any of these buttons will get you to the target control, and you have a download and try on the right-hand side. Click on the button. There's a free 10-day trial, and all you have to do is write your name. And I'm going to write my own name again. I've tried it 10 million times now, so I know it works. What it says on the right-hand side is that apart from being valid for 10 days for the trial, there's a setup file, exit file. There's a welcome and PDF get started guide, and the sample projects that I show are part of the zip file you download. The minute you click send, after that you have a download target control pop-up, and then you click on that, and it downloads, at least on my computer right now, on the bottom left-hand corner, and that's all you have to do.
Wonderful. Looks like it's all available now, so that's great. Another question.
It was released a couple of hours ago, all of it.
Wonderful. All right, a couple other questions that I'd like to get to. This is a great question. Can you build targets with build events and target control? And are there plans to centrally manage build events with target control in the future?
The future, yes. Right now, no. We have in the roadmap, there are two very important things that we want to try to control, and I'm not hiding what we are trying to do. One is to take the build management to a completely different level. That's all I should dare to say at the moment, but it will be different. That is for sure. But when people come in with suggestions to what they think should be in a build, we can include it if it's possible, if it's feasible. There is the possibility to go in and if I go back one to target control, no, suggestions is directly from the interface. That's the only way you can do that. We don't allow that inside the actual website. So I'm just going to open target control, go into the help and suggestions, and then you get to this page and you can write all the suggestions you want. So we will be working a lot on the build for the next version, and we will also be working on the thing that we found out very late in the process, that all of the projects I have are usually in source control, and if I still have to open all my Flare projects, and using Git or Force or whatever, I have to pull and push and commit and submit and whatever it's called. So we want to also let that be part of the next coming version, whenever that might be, so people can also use target control to take everything they have and put it back to MadCap Central, for instance.
Great. So it sounds like at this time the build events is something that's coming in terms of support with this utility.
We just discussed it half a year ago, but we decided for this one to make sure that we had a stable, simple product that adhered to our initial idea of target values inside of the target files. The build came on fairly late, but yes, there will be happening things on that.
Okay. Very good. Another great question I'd like to repeat for everybody is, when we're building in target control, what about build logs? So the question was, would we not see the build logs? So how would we see any build errors, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the build errors and the build logs are not part of this one. That's part of the future. Because we want to make sure that once you build your targets, if there's something wrong in the build, there are warnings or errors, you will be shown a log file or whatever format we end up doing it in, so you can easily see the error, what the error is caused by, and then maybe, depending on how easy it is, it's William again, click on that particular error or warning and jump straight to the culprit inside of the particular Flare project, solve it, and try again. That's the kind of stuff we're thinking about.
Okay.
But for the moment, the only log file we have is the file. What happens, these three files that you have, that I'm selecting now, is the Excel file, and then there's a configuration file which is created when you exit in the background the first time, and then there is this text document, which is basically let's open it up. Here we go, and this is the log file of what has been happening in my sessions from 1733 to 1733 and 11. We would probably ask you to send that file to us in case there are anything that you need to get solved.
Great. And so along those lines, if one chooses to try out the utility, are you and your team, are you available to answer questions as folks are testing?
Yes.
Okay. And so what's the best way?
Well, the best way at the moment, because I do need to sleep a couple of hours each night, and this is Central European time. So from around midnight till morning, I won't be available. But if people use the suggestions or also the comment or the contact us in the website, we will of course get back to you. We are two extra 3 people that can answer questions along the line as we go.
Okay, here's another question that's come in. I often have Flare build issues when rebuilding a PDF that I've recently closed. Adobe stops the build with the error message that the file is being used. My IT department wrote a kill script to clear the Adobe issue, which I have to use. Does your product prevent this?
Absolutely. And it's a really awful thing, and it actually is on Adobe and not as much as MadCap and Flare. What is being protected after a PDF build is not the files being created, but the actual folder where the files are still being held back by Acrobat and processes in that. And those have to be killed before you can build a PDF file again. And that, of course, is part of the upcoming version. That it goes without saying, because it is really annoying. It's been there since Adobe went from what they did in Acrobat to now being in the cloud. The minute they want in the cloud, a lot of people have problems with that, not only MadCap Flare users.
Okay, great. And once again, can you remind us how or the best website to use to get to the utility and how we can get it?
tbro.dk, that's the only page you can get it in there.
Okay.
That's
Wonderful.
it, tbro.dk, and that's the first page. And we do a lot of other stuff. You can browse through that as well. Any of these read more, and or any of the buttons, or maybe the tools and target control will take you into target control. And from there on, that's where things happen. You can download, and eventually you can go and purchase. And that's we do as good as we can. We use an online shop called Shopify. It was pretty good, and they communicate with our license server. And in the bottom down there, if I take this one here, it should turn black on you, and this is just a small video that you can enjoy.
Great. And yeah, for those who are on the MadCap site, we will also be putting some links back to your site, Thomas, so that folks, if they're on the MadCap site, can reference it too, along with some of the other plugins and utilities that we provide for folks. So very good.
Great. Really great.
Well, we're just upon the top of the hour here. I want to thank our audience for joining today. Thanks, everybody, and for your great questions and for staying engaged. And Thomas, thank you for taking the time to walk us through this utility. I think folks will hopefully download it, give it a go, and get in touch with you if they have questions. So yeah, thanks so much. And we'll be, like I said, we'll be sending this link out to everybody once we've rendered all of this, and send out any last minute questions that came in here that we weren't able to get to live. But I did want to thank our audience once again for joining. So thanks, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, a restful weekend, and we just hope everybody stays safe, of course. We look forward to seeing you on another presentation. So thanks so much, Thomas, for your time.
Well, you're welcome. It was my pleasure, and I have been looking forward to this for years. I was about to say, because the first time I saw the problem was about 12 years ago. So it has been 12 years in the making, target control.
Wonderful. Well,
and now it's here. Now I'm going from month to second, and if people don't buy it, I'm going to use it myself and still bill my clients the time they think it takes. Okay. No, I won't, but I think you get the point. You get the point.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again. And thank you everybody for joining. And like I said, hope to see you on the next session. And again, hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week and restful weekend. So take care, everyone,
Yep.
and talk to y'all soon.
Stay safe.